Back-to-back Super Bowl champions. The Chiefs defeating the Niners last night 25-22. We talk about what's next for the Chiefs and everything that's going to go about in the offseason, along with if this team is a dynasty, all right, here on the Chiefs Report. But, man, it was a hell of a season for the Chiefs, and it was a hell of a season for the Chiefs Report as well. Gaining over 8,000 subscribers, having a record year in a lot of facets. But the coverage doesn't stop. I want to continue to grow this channel and continue to build upon the Chiefs Report family. And the bosses challenged me. They said, we don't think you can get to 56,000 subscribers. I told them, I'll do you one better. We'll get to 60K before kickoff of the 2024 NFL season. So if you're looking for informative, entertaining, and most importantly, some lighthearted content here on the Chiefs Report, well then hit that subscribe button because you're not going to find it anywhere else on YouTube. I promise you. You'll get the best Chiefs coverage all year long. Hit that subscribe button and let's get into today's video. Appreciate you hanging out with us, Chiefs Kingdom, on this Victory Monday. I'm your host, Jay Sanders, and man, this Chiefs team is certainly a dynasty now. People talked about if they were, if they're not. Well, you cannot deny it. They have now won 3 of the last 5 Super Bowls, and their last 6 season has been unprecedented success. Winning back-to-back, obviously, this year and then the previous year against the Philadelphia Eagles in 2022. They lost the AFC Championship in 2021 to Joe Burrow, who ultimately went on to lose the Super Bowl. They lost it in 2020. In 2019, they won the Super Bowl. In 2018, they lost the AFC Championship. The point I'm saying here, you look at this. The Chiefs are a dynasty for sure because the only time they have not made the Super Bowl as Patrick Mahomes as their starter, they lost to Tom Brady in overtime. They lost to Joe Burrow in overtime. Like, here's the thing you look at. This team continues its success in every single facet. This season, it was talked about all year. The Chiefs are finally going to have their downfall. This roster isn't as good as it has been. Tyreek Hill's not here. He's not here for 2 years. Now it's finally going to catch up to him. No, it does not matter. The Chiefs team continues to get success. And that starts with Patrick Mahomes and kind of the way that he really formulates everything around him. Now, today, obviously, they had some more press conferences, and he was asked about the Chiefs' place in history after this Super Bowl victory. And, well, he had some interesting things to say, saying it means a ton, not only for me, but I know how hard these guys work. I believe we're the hardest working team in the NFL. We work for these moments. To be able to have our stamp on NFL history is something I'll never take for granted. And that's something not only for this Chiefs team, but also for Patrick Mahomes, because he continues in his 6th year as a starter for Kansas City to have a resume unlike anybody else. 6 years, he's 28 years old. He has 4 Super Bowl appearances, 3 Super Bowl wins, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 NFL MVPs, and he's been to all 6 conference championship games that he's been a starter. And it's just unprecedented success that you cannot deny, and you have to respect at this point. Everybody wants to talk about that they hate the Chiefs, that they get all the calls, and they don't like how they always win. But I sit here and I ask you this. Why? Why do people hate on success? Why do people hate on dominance? It's because they want what they can't have. And the Chiefs are exactly that. Dominance at an unprecedented level that nobody can recreate because nobody else has Patrick Mahomes, nobody else has Andy Reid, nobody else has Coach Spags, and nobody else has Travis Kelce. Ultimately, those 4 guys alone have really created this team to become a dominant force in every facet of the game, from defense to offense to special teams to culture. And I think that's where everything comes to a whole, is the culture around this team. Marquez Valdez-Scantling had a terrible year, and he caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Brett Veach was talked about all season for not making the moves that was needed to improve this team. The one trade he made, McCole Hardman made the game-winning touchdown catch in overtime. You sit here and you look at this team, and I think it's hard to sit here and start complaining at all if you have Patrick Mahomes and if you have Andy Reid and if you have Travis Kelce. At this point, the doubters are going to doubt, and honestly, I had my doubts this year at times. But ultimately, I think from now on, if Mahomes is healthy, if Andy Reid's still the coach, and if Travis Kelce is playing at an elite level, you can't sit here and say that the Chiefs aren't going to be the favorites to go back to the Super Bowl next year. Now, Mahomes, though, he's got that GOAT status to live up to. Has he solidified himself as the GOAT with the win? Obviously, just 3 Super Bowls. He's only 28 years old. Does this solidify him as a GOAT? Well, I want you to let me know in the comment section. Type Y for yes if you think it solidifies it. Type N for not yet. I'll give you my answer after this. I'm going to say he's definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's definitely what he achieved. I think he was maybe already a Hall of Famer last year. Now with back-to-back Super Bowls, as soon as his name is on the ballot, he will be in the Hall of Fame. GOAT status, though, is still something he's chasing after. And the reason is, in a way, something that Mahomes said last night. Brady beat him in the Super Bowl. Brady beat him in the AFC Championship. We're going to sit here and we're going to argue Brady and Mahomes for the next century, maybe. But ultimately, the times they've played, Brady took home the crown. Unfortunately, now, you can't say that. You can't have that happen again. But I want to go back to after that AFC Championship game, Chiefs-Patriots, where Tom Brady took down Mahomes in overtime. Well, guess what? Brady went to the locker room after that game, and in Andy Reid's words, said that he was handing over the keys to Patrick Mahomes. Listen, GOAT to GOAT, I think we can sit here and say that there may not be one official GOAT ever, but you have to only compare Patrick Mahomes to Tom Brady at this point. There's nobody else you can compare him to. I know he's only 28 years old, but he's done stuff that only Brady has done, and he's going to continue to do stuff because ultimately he said it. He wants to take a Tom Brady-like approach to the rest of his career, taking a little bit of pay cuts to make sure that he can continue winning championships, which we'll talk about more in just a second. But another big part that is in that story is Andy Reid. Well, once again, he was asked about his retirement rumors. Will he be staying with Kansas City in 2024? Is he finally going to retire? Well, let's just say his answer was very clear on his stance once again because he's been asked this a lot. He hasn't even thought about retirement, in his words. I mean, ultimately, this guy continues to say, I haven't thought about it. Yeah, he may be an older guy. Yeah, he may be, quote-unquote, past his prime in coaching, but won 2 Super Bowls in a row. I don't think it's really up to anybody else. If he wants to keep coaching, he can do exactly that. And this is perfect because with Andy Reid coming back, it opens up a lot of possibilities for this team to literally just run it back. And we'll talk about why that kind of makes sense, especially with a report from Adam Schefter talking about Chris Jones and Sneed possibly saying. But with Andy Reid staying here, again, he is the coach that everybody wants to be. Bill Belichick is the one coach in the National Football League this past year that everybody compared him to. Well, last time I checked, Bill Belichick does not have a head coaching job in 2024. So it's a tough situation here for a lot of people to say that he is the GOAT, but at this point, 4th in wins all time, and he's just going to keep rising. And as Travis Kelce said earlier this year, they want to get Andy Reid to number 1 all time on coaching wins. What's next for the Kansas City Chiefs, though? They're Super Bowl champions, but how can Brett Veach make this happen once again? Travis Kelce talked about it. Patrick Mahomes talked about it. Everybody in the locker room. Obviously, there's pure joy for winning a Super Bowl, but you could obviously tell this team, they didn't want to be done. They want another one next year. They want a three-peat. They want to be the first team to ever three-peat in the Super Bowl era, and they have a good shot to do that. We'll tell you all about why they have a good shot to do that and free agency and what Brett Veach plans to do here in just a second. But again, Super Bowl champions can't feel much better than this, and now you can get your championship gear on right here on the Chat Sports link. Chatsports.com/Super Bowl takes you right to it. You get the Super Bowl champions hat. You can get a Super Bowl champion shirt. They've got a bunch of sizes, men's, women's. And I know, hey, you're not a short sleeve type gal. You're not a short sleeve type guy. Well, guess what? They have the long sleeves as well, all available on there. And then I think a cooler alternative, obviously the official shirts are cool, but there's one that has Home of the Chrome, which me and Sam both agreed it fits well. Lombardi Trophy going back to Kansas City. Get your shirts, chatsports.com/Super Bowl. We're going to put this link in the comments and the description of this video. Listen, I got my Super Bowl shirt on, but now I got to replace this with a Super Bowl champion shirt because, listen, we were there. Now I want to show that we're champions, so go get it once again. It'll be in the comments and the description of this video. Look it up at chatsports.com/Super Bowl. Here's the notable free agents that the Chiefs are looking at to re-sign in 2024. The top 2 are the most important in Chris Jones and Sneed, but that's not to diminish the value of Mike Danna, Willie Gay Jr., Donovan Smith, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jerick McKinnon, Drew Tranquill, Mike Edwards, and Tommy Townsend, who is a critical part of this Chiefs special teams. Tommy, honestly, one of the better punters in the National Football League. It'll be important to sign him back. Now, obviously, this is just the notable ones, and in total, there are 25 free agents the Chiefs are looking at for the 2024 NFL season. They will probably not re-sign all of them, but the majority of the guys up top that you just saw in the notable free agents, I think the Chiefs could get back. we'll talk about how they do that, obviously, with right now just $24 million in cap space. But I asked this question before I move further. You saw those 10 notable ones that I mentioned. Who is the most important player to re-sign in 2024? Is it L'Jarius Sneed? Is it Chris Jones? Is it maybe somebody that wasn't those two? Maybe it's Tommy Townsend. Maybe there's somebody you think the Chiefs have to have this person back next year if they want to have a shot at repeating once again, getting that three-peat. So get down in the comment section. Who's the most important player to re-sign for 2024? Well, here's the good news. Pat McAfee had on Adam Schefter today on his show, and, well, the quotes we got were just music to my ears. Adam Schefter said the Chiefs are going to run it back with a lot of this team intact, saying, quote, I don't think Chris Jones is going to want to leave unless there's some huge offers out there. Now, that's huge because Chris Jones is slated to be around a $30 million a year guy, but I think we've talked about it a couple times on the show. The way he looked in the offseason, the way he looked in that booth on week one sitting next to his two agents was not the way he looked the rest of the season. He looked like he wanted to be here. He looked like he enjoying being here. And I think there may have been some sort of conversation between Mahomes and between Kelsey and between Chris Jones saying, hey, we want to do this for a long time and we need y'all to stay with us. Now, I do think Chris Jones deserves his money. And with $24 million in cap space at the moment, how exactly is Brett Veach going to get around that? Well, Patrick Mahomes has a pretty big contract. So, what about restructuring that? There was a report that came out just a couple days prior to the Super Bowl saying that it's likely that Mahomes will restructure his contract in some form or fashion. Now, a cap hit of $58 million is what he's slated to have in 2024. So how can the Chiefs get that down in 2020, get that down a little bit? Well, Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports kind of got us rolling on how exactly the Chiefs can do this, saying that no matter what the number is, though, the Chiefs are certain to get Mahomes' cap number lower for 2024 by the start of the new league year in March. So, again, March, that's coming up. He continues on to say a simple contract restructuring would save the team roughly $37 million in cap space, and Mahomes would have a cap hit in 2024 in the low 20s. So let's do a little bit of math here. $24 million is what the cap space is at this current time. You save $37 million. So after restructuring, after all the incentive bonuses are given out, it's going to be around $60 million, give or take a few. That's pretty good for the fact that the Chiefs are Super Bowl champions and most of their free agents are going to be within that range. So if you do that, that gives you a lot of money to sign Jones, to sign Sneed. I mean, you talk about what L'Jarius Sneed's worth. I think around $15 to $16 million. So you say next year you have $60 million. You give 30 of it to Chris Jones. You give 15 of it to L'Jarius Sneed. That still leaves you with around $15 million, right? Well, what can you do with it? What was the problem this year that everybody talked about? Wide receivers. Well, guess what? There's some pretty intriguing wide receivers on the market here for Kansas City. You've got Mike Evans, Michael Pittman Jr., T. Higgins, Marquise Brown, and Calvin Ridley. All five of these guys would be extraordinary to have for Kansas City. But I think there is one that honestly is more likely than the most, and that is Calvin Ridley. Now, PFF released their top predictions for free agent targets and where they will end up, and Calvin Ridley was the one who was predicted to go to Kansas City. He'd probably be a pretty team-friendly contract, was signed by the Jaguars this year, had high expectations, didn't really live up to them. He played well in preseason and then proceeded to not play bad, but he had some good games, he had some bad games in Jacksonville. I think he'd fit perfect with the Chiefs' offense. Again, he's speed and could replace Kadarius Toney, who I will think will likely get cut. So I think that'll be awesome, but they're going to have potentially around $15 to $20 million to spend on free agents. Obviously, have to depend what happens with if they're going to sign back Mike Edwards, Drew Tranquil, all of them, how exactly they'll go about that. But still, most of those guys you can get for pretty cheap. You're going to have some money to spend, but I think going on that, you have to worry about your guys first. You have to worry about signing back Chris Jones. You have to worry about signing back L'Jarius Sneed. And to some extent, I'm trying to see how much is Drew Tranquil worth? How much is Willie Gay worth? How much is Mike Edwards worth? How much is Tommy Townsend worth? You got to go look at the guys you had this year because ultimately there's this. You won the Super Bowl with this team, and they played better and better each week as the season went on. You also have a pretty decent shot to draft a wide receiver, and given if you sign everybody back, there could be an option where you trade some picks to potentially move up in the draft. I mean, what's to say Brett Veach doesn't make a major trade? One of those top 3 wide receivers in maybe Rome Odunze falls down to 11, 12. What if the Kansas City Chiefs trade up, draft him? What about Brian Thomas Jr.? There's also Troy Franklin, Adonai Mitchell that you could get later in the first round. I think ultimately you look about your guys first. You worry about the wide receivers in the NFL draft because this year's draft class is full of top-tier wide receivers. And speaking on that note, we're going to have coverage all season of that. So we got drafts, we got free agency, pretty much anything that happens in the offseason, we have you covered. So that's exactly why you hit that subscribe button, because we have you covered every offseason detail right here on the Chiefs Report. Join the family today. That's what we like to say. We're not just a community. We're a family here on the Chiefs Report, and I want you to be a part of it. Hit that sub button because the coverage doesn't stop here. It just gets larger and larger, and hopefully the Chiefs Report does the exact same. Let's hit that sub button. And for now, Chiefs Kingdom, peace out.